Come in. Pass about the night, this darkness visible. Feel free to have a look around. Scudding waves near to yourself. We offer all different kinds of readings: tarot, chiromancy, physiognomy, but you're a little different, aren't you? You're a little special. I have something for you. So I knew you were going to come in. I just wasn't sure when. Thought I'd occupy myself in the meantime. But here you are. Let's have a look at you. Let's have a look at you. Did you come far? I know. No, really, I know. I just thought I would be polite and ask. Well, let me show you what I have. Let's see. Not the oracle cards, not the runes. Where is it? There. Tucked under everything else. Now this is a little beat up, but it'll do. This is a diagram of a average ear, but this is not quite what we're looking at. This is just easier for you to understand, easier for you to see what I'm talking about. See, we can tell a lot from the ears. We can tell what your personality is like, what your general sense of luck is, your general sense of fortune in the universe. So I would like to take a look at your ears and measure them and write everything down so that I can show you what I'm talking about. Does that sound fair? Wonderful. Now, I would like to start with some general measurements. Oh, that's a bit too much. This is perhaps enough slack. Do let me know if anything is uncomfortable. And let's see what we've got. Good. We have a standard 3-inch ear from the tip of the helix to the bottom of the lobe. 3 inches. 3 inches. There we are. And the width of the ear. So we've done the the ear, from tragus to the lateral edge of the helix. And let's see, that would be right about here. And about here. Okay. So a decent amount of width to the ear, but overall fairly standard. Now, this may sound a bit odd, but I'd like to just look at the external auditory meatus here, the opening of the ear canal. And for this, I'm going to need something much smaller. I think that'll do. Now, this might be a bit uncomfortable. This little metal bit here, I'm going to be quite gentle, however. I can just right there, so that, okay, and then right in here. I see. Now, I only have a total of 9 measurements. We are a third of the way through, and then we can start talking about different attributes to the ear. Now we're going to focus on the lobe of the ear, from the antitragus to the bottom, from where it attaches to the head to the widest point on the edge. And I think I'll give myself just a little bit more, just for some flexibility. So let me see right here. And then for our width, good. Excellent. There's our height, and there's our width. So a little longer than it is wide. And that will be much more relevant than you think it might be. Now, I'd like to take a look a little bit more sides here. Now, if you look at my head from the side here, looking at the ears, you can tell a little bit about how far it sticks out, which is not very much. But if you look at me head on, then you can see specifically how far the ear sticks out, whether it is quite a bit or if it's tucked quite close to the head. And so I'd like to look at you just straight on and just measure the amount that each ear sticks from the head. So we're just going to take that outer ridge of the ear and measure it from the side of the head. Good. are with that. And then we're going to have to involve your eyebrows and your nose now. So, we're going to see how level the ear is to the brow and the nose. For example, when one is learning to draw portraits on a Loomis head model, you have the line of the ear with the eyebrow, and you have the bottom line of the ear with the nose. Now, real people are a little different, which means that we can get information from that. So we need more flexibility out of this so that we can work with the contours of your face. So let's see, we have the eyebrow here. We put this straight across. Where does the ear fall? Good. And if we do this right here, where does it fall? Good. And with the nose, do forgive me, this might be a bit ticklish. We put this right at the nose. Where is the ear? Good. And right here, where is the ear? The last thing I'd like to do, I don't need that much flexibility, but a little bit will be helpful. I'd like to measure the tragus here, this cartilaginous protuberance. We just take that. Luckily, it's quite a stiff structure, so it shouldn't be hard. And there we are to measure. And then the other side, right here. Excellent. That'll do. Now, let's just jot this information down, and then we can collect more information about different attributes of the ear. Color, position, shape, that sort of thing. And how level to the eyebrows, as well as how level to the nose. Now, I'm going to be recording some details here regarding what I see. I must tell you that I do not have any skin in the game. I don't have any reason to not just call it as I see it. Nothing is meant as any sort of insult. It's just what I notice. Right? Okay, so let's look. At the color. The color of each ear in regards to your own skin tone. We are, and I'd like to feel the ear to ascertain its hardness, if you don't mind. Okay, so let me just put this down. Then I'm just going to the other side. Okay. There we are. Now the shape, there are different shapes. Mine, for example, is a rather standard rounded shape, as is the shape on our anatomical chart. You can see a rounded feature, no pointed ends, no squaring off. But what do we have here with yours? What do yours look like? Good. Now the position of the ear is somewhat relevant. It's more that there's one position that is a bit unfortunate, but anything else is normal or average. So, is the ear more forward, more back, or right in the middle of the head here? Okay. And over here. Okay. I see. Wonderful. Now let's take a look at the helix of the ear. I'm just going to place this down. I'm going to have to look specifically at a few things. Now we did not measure the helix. This is going to be subjective. My subjective opinion. We're looking at size primarily and general formation. There we have that. And the antihelix. So you have the helix, anti meaning opposite. So you have the helix and the antihelix. And some people have a pointed antihelix. Some people have their antihelix protrude farther than their helix, both of which are relevant. Good, we can jot that down. And how about the tragus? Is it quite protruding? Is it quite folded back? We have our measurement, but does it look large or small in proportion to each ear? We can take that down. Now for the shape of the lobe. Some people have rather detached lobes. Some people, like myself, have attached. So it's not very defined. Some people have very long pendulous lobes. Some people don't really have any lobe at all. So which is it that you are? What kind of earlobe shape do you possess here? I see. Let's see. There we are. Now, like like I said, attachment has a factor. Mine are quite attached. Yours may not be. Let's see. Okay. And we have talked about the protrusion of the ear. We've measured it. So now I can put down whether the ears protrude or not. And how far does the lobe extend down? We do have a measurement, but this is in proportion to the ear. If you have very long earlobes, but the entire ear is long, that's not unproportional. For example, there's that. How defined are the lobes here? Like I said, mine are not especially defined. You can see them, certainly, you can see their shape, but they attach very early on and go right up straight to the helix. What is it that you have? Okay. And last attribute, the shininess of the ear. How shiny are your ears? Now, we have all sorts of personality traits and what have you to determine from these measurements. So I'd like to just show you here on the table what exactly I'm looking at and what these different ear traits refer to. So, very first thing we have is we look at the ear size. Again, this is in proportion to the head itself. So, someone with rather large ears. This signifies someone who is active, energetic, smart, enthusiastic, and holds good fortune. See, fortune is going to come up quite a bit because ear reading, you can find this in Europe in physiognomy, kind of brushed upon. You can find it in India, they do face reading as well. But where this really shines is in Chinese physiognomy. And Chinese physiognomy concerns itself greatly with luck and fortune. So that will come up quite a bit. Now, for a smaller ear, this represents a person who has a lower amount of energy, who is maybe more quiet, introverted, perhaps quite shy. They might have a low threshold for social situations, interactions. They may have fewer friends, but maybe those fewer friends are deeper relationships. Now, the height of the ear in regards to the eyebrows can mean a few different things. If the ear is higher than the eyebrow, this is someone who is idealistic and imaginative. However, if it is rather high, if it's too high, you have someone who is more foolish and naive, idealistic to a fault. Now, with someone who has a lower height than their eyebrow, this is someone who is more realistic. And if it's too low, this is someone where this turns into materialism instead. Materialistic and someone who lacks leadership skills. Perhaps they are quite immature. Now we talked about the external auditory meatus. We talked about the size of the ear canal hole. Now this corresponds, if this is a large opening, then this is someone who is a tolerant individual, someone who is quite open-minded to people, ideas, and they can be quite ambitious as well. Now, someone with very small ear holes, this is going to be someone who is very stubborn, very self-centered, maybe egotistical, someone who cannot really admit when they're wrong or admit if they've made a mistake. The ear lobes. This is something, again, when we talk about Chinese ear reading in particular, the earlobes are incredibly important. The larger and more pendulous the earlobe, like the Buddha, for example, when seeing imagery of the Buddha, one sees the very large, very pendulous hanging earlobes. The larger the earlobes, the more the luck, the greater the fortune. So, someone's earlobes that extend beyond the helix, so instead of just coming down like mine do, they would maybe come out. This is someone who is individualistic and uncompromising in their ideas, in their positions. They are also someone who can be rather stubborn. Someone who has a very distinct earlobe, very defined. This is going to be someone who is rather smart, rather emotionally intelligent, and also corresponds to good fortune. Someone who has hanging earlobes, again, this is someone that is considered to be blessed, to be incredibly fortunate. Now, likewise with the earlobes, the ears themselves, if they protrude quite a bit, this is actually a good thing. This is a favorable thing. Here in the West, that doesn't tend to be celebrated so much, but in the East, that is something that is very good. So someone whose ears protrude quite a bit, this is going to be someone who is creative, intelligent, and is quite engaged in out-of-the-box thinking. And someone whose ears are very close to the head, like mine here, just because they're not protruding and that is considered to be very good, doesn't mean that this is bad. It's just different. So someone with ears close to the head, this is someone who will find themselves to be financially fortunate. This is someone who is quite ambitious, has a good work ethic, as well as good business skills. Now we have the tragus. The tragus, again, the size is in proportion to the rest of the ear. Someone who has a small tragus. This is someone who is rather immature, someone who has a lack of responsibility. So this goes along with someone who has small ear canal openings. And if the tragus is large, that means that this is someone who can feel too much responsibility. Way too much. They put the world on their shoulders. They feel guilt for everything. They feel that they are responsible for everything. For this reason, they tend to be hyper-independent people. People that don't allow anyone else to help them. And they tend to be people that are very my way or the highway sort of thinking. Now the shape. We talked about ears that are more round. On our model here, we have round ears. On myself, we have rounded ears. But there are a couple more shapes. You can have people that have more elfin ears that are pointed at the top. Maybe hobbit ears even. You can have people that have all these angles to the ear where they're drawn more like, if you've ever seen the Disney movie Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Masterpiece of a movie. A little too quickly paced, but very, very tight in its plot. They are drawn with very angular ears, very squared ears. And you can see that in real life. So people with rounder ears, these are going to be honest, loyal people that have good communication skills. They speak their mind. You don't have to read their mind. They will just tell you. People with squared ears, these are going to be your calm, creative, easygoing people. Sort of that, kind of lackadaisical artist vibe, except these are also very realistic people. And then you have pointed ears, and these people are very witty. They're very perceptive, quite logical in their way of thinking, and they tend to err on the side of being perfectionists. Now, the color of the ears. So this corresponds to your skin color. Whether the ears are lighter than your skin color, darker, or what the undertone is like. So ears that are paler than the rest of the skin, this denotes a lack of energy. And in Chinese face reading, this would be more of a lack of qi. Those who have a pinkish undertone to their skin, that warm pink, these are people that are quite lucky, and they also tend to be very diligent kind of people. Now, if the ear is red. Not pink, but red. This is someone who is hardworking, but there is a bit of a cost. As hardworking as these people are, their work, their contributions do not tend to be noticed nearly as much. If you've heard the saying, working twice as hard to get half as far, that would be quite akin to someone who has a red tone to their ears. Now, someone whose ears are darker than their skin tone, this is someone, again, that has a lack of energy, but there's another component to it. These people tend to be very indecisive, wishy-washy, if you will. Now, as for the hardness of the ear, we had felt a little bit around the ears. The hardness of the ear determines a little bit more of your energy as well. Those with their very thick and hard ears tend to be more robust and energetic. Mine, for example, are quite thin and soft, which can denote laziness, but also a lack of energy. Now, for the position, as I had said before, really if the ear is in a normal position or a little bit backwards on the head, that's a normal reading. It's non-distinct. However, if the ear is more forward on the head, then this is going to be someone who has poorer health, or it's a sign of someone who would have poorer health. Now, we talked a little bit about the antihelix, and I had said that we can have a protruding antihelix, we can have a pointed antihelix. So those that have a point on their antihelix, these people can be very alert and self-reliant to a fault. Again, like a hyper-independent situation. Those with a protruding antihelix, this denotes a rather rebellious sort of person. Someone who does not really follow orders, the rules, directions, anything like that. Lastly, we looked at the shininess of the ear, the sheen of the ear. And if it is not shiny, that doesn't mean anything. But if it is shiny, that denotes someone who is good at recognizing and acting upon opportunities. So opportunistic is not exactly the best word. While that is essentially what it is, that has a negative connotation, more of a taking advantage of situations. This is more recognizing and acting upon situations. So they are good at sensing opportunity. So let me just grab this. And I'm going to just take my ear chart, put that right there. Now I have your workup here. I have all of your measurements, the left ear, the right ear, all of the attributes that we had analyzed. So this has everything that I wrote down, but on the back. On the back has a list of everything that we measured and took note of, and tells you what it means. So that means that if you wanted to look at what I saw and just follow that back to what it means, you don't have to remember everything that I said. But what this is mostly included for is that the ears over time do not stay the same. A lot of times they get bigger. Sometimes they can get a lot thicker. Sometimes their shape changes a little bit over time. So as the ears change, you can look at your ears and look at this chart and see how that has changed your own analysis. Or you could also just look at someone else's ears and do your own little ear reading. So this is for you. Let me pull that up. There we are. You can take that home with you. Is there anything else I can do for you? I have spell candles and crystals and all sorts of bits and bobs if you'd like to take a look around. Just let me know if I can help any further. Wonderful. This is for you. Okay? I hope you have a whale of a day and a good rest of your night. Thank you. Goodbye now. Where was I? Let's see. Perseus. We're talking about Perseus, Cupid and Psyche, two great gods of earth. I think that's